Tap into my podcast.
I got the good brother next to me, Ray King next to me, that I met here at UCC. Here at UCC, man, we building a network of great brothers, great minds that want to come together, you feel me, and do great things for the community at NYC and all over, you feel me, all over the globe. So this conversation right here is about to get real deep. You understand what I'm saying? We know we got the history segment on Morals and Money called Breaking the Black Barrier, and that's exactly what we about to talk about. That's exactly what we get into. You know what I'm saying? Because history and knowing oneself is very important, and I ain't realized that until I became an adult. I ain't gonna lie. Like I say all the time, sometimes in other episodes and Truth and Gems, I was a little ignorant motherfucker sometimes. Excuse my language, but you know I done came to some enlightenment sometimes and did some research for myself and understand that ignorance is bliss, you know what I'm saying? And ignorance is just not knowing. And once you know, you'll change your perspective. And you know, this brother right here, we had a few conversations the way I'm just sitting there listening, you know what I'm saying? You gotta sit back and listen sometimes and not talk so much, especially when you're around elders. So I wanna introduce my brother, DEMEGOD.
I'm to the malls out there, in UCC. I met Chris in UCC, and it's been empowering. Everybody in the building is very empowering. They asked me to come do his podcast. I let them know I got a podcast, a God Out podcast, 100 Modes. You know what I'm saying? And we had some real deep conversations, and he was like, "You gotta come to my podcast and sit down with me and talk to my viewers." For real, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna share viewers because it's a shared economy, and that's what it is. So that's on to the moment.
And that's building, you know what I mean? That's building. That's what we gotta do. And when I say these conversations really is like too profound, and it's like it's never a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Because like I said, I didn't came into information. You know what I'm saying? You want to ask certain questions, but you don't run into people to really ask these questions. You can just read in books, and books sometimes are just from a person's perspective, an opinion, right? And that's why they say, yo, Chris, read multiple books, read everybody's. You feel me? Read everybody's opinion, all right? Don't just be biased. So meeting him and then asking certain questions is just what I'm about to do. I had to put him on the podcast. This podcast is not no podcast where we're gonna be talking some bullshit, even though we're gonna have a segment to where it's for everybody. But our conversations are for us to open our minds and for us to come together as one. You feel me? As a melanated group of people. So please, I just want to ask the question right now. You say Islam and you're more. What does that mean to you, and what does Islam mean?
Islam, to the Moral Science Temple, we represent the Moral Science Temple number 10, but we're all across the country. There's different factions and different denominations in the Moral Science Temple. But the principles are all the same. So we got love, truth, peace, justice, equality, freedom. So those is our 5 principles for the 5 points of man. But when we say peace, we don't understand that religion, all religions today basically was based out of culture. Religion as a word is a baby word. The language that we speak as indigenous Americans that's been colonized, we speak English, but the language that we speak is faulty. We can't really get down to the bottom of the lies and break down the lies and see what's true and see what's fact unless you deal with linguistics and you deal with etymology. So when you're dealing with the language, you start to see, as I started to see, that the culture of peace it reverberates through all cultures and languages. So you see the Hebrews say shalom, and you see the Moors say Islam or salam, right? And then you see the Kemetic, from the Kemetic science, you go to Hotep. Yeah. So Hotep, Shalom, and Islam are derivatives of today of different religions and different what we are told what religion is. Because we're gonna break down religion. The word religion is a baby word. The concept is a baby word. A lot of concepts that we use today are babies, which meaning they didn't exist in ancient times. They didn't use these words because they didn't speak English, for one. Right. And for two, they didn't have the concept. When you hear a word, you got to understand the concept of the word. Like what's the vibration of the word? Because every word has a vibration. So when you're dealing with linguistics, you're dealing with vibration, right? And you're dealing with frequency. So the English language is sort of like a bastard language because it has multiple ancient languages all the way up to the time of Greek, exactly.
Basically Roman and
exactly. But what makes it more dangerous is it's more made up. So they could change it when the Webster Dictionary drops a new edition. They can add words, they could take words out, they could say, oh, we thought that word didn't mean that, and now it means this. So they have created a whole new frequency because their words is even like homosexual and as far as like when you always got a masculine vibration and a feminine vibration.
Right, because
to go with words.
Yo, bro, it's crazy that you even say that. That's why I said every conversation we done had taps into another conversation or something that I done learned recently because me learning the Hebrew or me trying to learn Hebrew and shit, even thinking back to when I was learning Spanish, they have the words in feminine and have the words in masculine. Certain vowels mean this and certain vowels is that. Then I'm like, wait, hold up. You know Hebrew is way older than Spanish.
That's a fact.
I'm like, oh damn, that shit is tied together.
Exactly.
But like you just said, in our language it wouldn't be that. It's just plural and singular. You feel me? Like so that's how you know that our language is just like you have to get to the bottom. That's why they say words mean so much when you're saying it. It's the context in which you're saying it, and then it's just how you're saying it, your tone, but what are you saying?
What are you saying?
All right?
A lot of us don't know what we're saying because we don't study the English language. We don't have the time. Society doesn't give us the time on purpose, by design. Keeps you like a machine, like a robot. Go to work, wake up, take care of the kids, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, take care of the kids. So now you get into a cycle and you really don't have, they make sure they don't give any room for you to be able to study and research or meditate or pray and put those hours in. We was talking about the Buddhist monks, and I was like, a lot of people don't really believe in spiritual science or the chi or certain things, but the Buddhist monks are a perfect example of what the human body can do once you meditate. They're not just training in martial arts. Majority of their time is sitting still and quiet. So their power and their connection to the source is this time that they have to sit back and be quiet and just sit in meditation. Meditation is what ignites your chakras. It's what ignites all those superpowers that we watch Marvel comics and we watch all these.
I've never meditated for real, and I ain't gonna lie. I think one of them people that think that is kind of bullshit because just to sit and quiet, what are you tapping into? Like,
see, it's hard. See, now meditation.
My mind is always going, so it's not even like I'm sitting really.
But that lets you know. See, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. There's all roads lead to where you need to go because you know and understand that to quiet the mind is to become a master. And you said to yourself, there's so much stuff in your, so it's garbage. All that stuff going through your head really don't matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, all of that stuff, it's like it affects your emotional balance, it affects your mental balance, and it just affects you daily. That's where we get anxiety. We get, you know what I'm saying, we worry about things. But to be able to sit and know and understand that if you know that the God power is inside of you, what are you really worried about? You can manifest and create and come up out of any situation if you just sit still. The answers is already inside you, but if your brain is constantly moving and you don't never sit still and start to control your brain, because let me tell you something, to master self is to master everything from here, the third eye down. So that means you have to master these, you have to master your mouth, you have to master your frequency, your voice vibrations, your heart, your stomach, and your sexual organs. When you don't master those things, and those things will come out of whack, you have the 5 devils: envy, lust, hate, gluttony, When you don't control your stomach, that's why fasting is not just for a spiritual thing. It's connected. Everything is connected. The biology, the science, the chemistry, the math, and religion is all connected. But the Europeans chose to separate it. It's for control.
So what's the big one?
What I say? Envy, hate, jealousy, lust, gluttony,
Greed.
and greed. So it's 7 of them, really. It's 7. But all of those is what's going on inside of you. They're going on outside of you, but you can control the amount of it that goes on outside of you once you control the amount of it that's going on inside of you.
That's a fact.
It's long.
Don't let that go over your head, bro. I know that shit was a lot.
It's long.
That was a lot.
It's long.
My question to you is, my brother, Demi, how did you get into this life of being a Moorish American, tapping into that full-fledged? I know you probably have had different stages in your life. And before you even get into that, we had the conversation like we were just talking about religion. That you said to me, you have to take the word religion out of the conversation, out your mind when you have these conversations, how everything is connected. And I said to you, that's kind of hard because like we are programmed. You feel me? Like a computer. When you talking about certain things, you automatically go into a spiritual kind of like conversation or this religious kind of conversation, and it's like, damn, you don't want to put your perspective of religion into it, but it's like you got to separate those two. So how did you figure out how to do that too also?
I know that I used to always hear the God bodies always talk about the science, and they scientists, and you know what I'm saying, they scholars and scientists to come up with the miraculous, the amazing things that they have discovered in our lifetimes, in the lifetime of Homo sapiens, is because they don't deal with their opinion. They only deal with facts and analyzation. So when you're dealing with the science are things that can be proven, like gravity and certain things like that. Until you go on to certain other spiritual realms, then gravity don't matter. But when you're dealing with the physical world, and you're dealing with 2 + 2 is 4, not only here but on the moon, you understand a universal language. Mathematics and science is a universal language. So many people like to live in delusions, but when it comes to math, they would never go in the store and give a man a $100 bill for 10-cent piece of candy and let the man give him back $20 change.
Right.
So that means you got to do the math. So dealing with math is what really brought me first. Of course, I was in a home. My mother was Christian. Of course, I come from a Christian home.
Right.
I went to Catholic school in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying?
Me too, with the Catholic school home.
So that
the block from where we
that right there was the indoctrination period.
Yes.
Because our parents don't know, and they was indoctrinated. That's all. Everything's all an indoctrination period. But there's a point in your life. A man goes through stages of his life, and in the 2nd to 3rd stage of your life, you start to garner your own opinions and your own faith, and you start to do your own research and investigation. So what your parents and family had you doing no longer, sometimes or most times, no longer really hold weight because you do your own, and then you get into other things. So that's what happened to me. I came in the house Christian, you know what I'm saying? I was incarcerated young, you know what I mean? Sparford, Woodfield Cottage, 13, 14, and there was older boys there, and they was mimicking the older guards, you know what I'm saying? They always was talking about the science and the knowledge, but it wasn't until I graduated to the big house, and we talk about prison, and they demonize prison, and our own community demonized prison, but I think that prison is like a cave. So when you put a man in a cave, he's able, if he takes advantage of the time that's his higher self has given himself, because his higher self is actually the one making the decisions, and know that he's going to end up in prison and put him through situations where he got to make the wrong choice. So that's really him doing it to himself. When he sit himself down, if he takes the time out to meditate, read books, do the knowledge, it will change his opinion about the world. And it won't be his mother's and father's opinion, because that's what we get in the first stage of our life when we babies. We get their opinions, and we hold on to theirs because we make theirs ours.
Yeah.
But there's stages, the second to the third stage of your life, through adolescence and coming into manhood, you start to ask questions and start to do your own research. So that's basically what happened to me. I was around the 5%ers. I got knowledge of the 5%ers. You know, I don't master 120. I never said I mastered 120, but I do have the 120, and I go back and I study and I research and I use that as a blueprint to all the other knowledge that I'm dealing with. And it's basically right, you feel me? So when I'm dealing with the science,
what exactly is the 120?
120 is a part of the highest lessons that you could.
For me, the 5%ers, that's just a group that I've heard of. Like, you know how people say they never even heard of the Hebrew Israelites, or they just think they'll.
So you don't know the history of the 5%ers.
Don't.
I'm gonna break down the history to you, but the 5% nation is Islam.
Right. Okay.
That's a piece of Islam that Elijah Muhammad was not teaching to everybody.
Okay.
That was just, remember, every practice, every belief have a secret part of it that the masses are not getting. You know what I'm saying? There's an esoteric, that word, that esoteric means the mystical, the spiritual. That aspect of things aren't really given to everyone.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Because it could be dangerous in the wrong hands.
So, and not everybody can even grasp the concept.
Exactly. So when you're talking about the 5%ers, the 5%ers come from Nation of Islam. Okay. The father of the 5%ers, who we say called the father, Clarence X, he basically was ejected from
Nation of Islam. I've heard of Clarence X. You know,
that's the father of the 5% nation.
Because of the Malcolm X story and everything else like that. And then, you know, other brothers from being Black Panther and stuff like that. I've heard of him. I just didn't know he's the founder.
Okay, so those two brothers were Elijah Muhammad's best students. Malcolm X and the father. Okay. The father was on heroin. Okay. So they constantly gave him warnings and told him, you know, stop doing the heroin, and he didn't stop. So they ejected him from the Nation of Islam. And of course, he went to the street and he got locked up. But he took his lessons and he started to teach the lessons in the prisons. So this is where 5% Nation, those lessons are still official lessons. Right, yeah. I know people still go out. You know what I'm saying? Those is official lessons. But those is lessons that Elijah Muhammad, some of the lessons Elijah Muhammad held back, because at that time, he couldn't tell people that they was God. He couldn't tell Christians that they was God. You know what I'm saying? That the God power, the God source is inside of them. They've been taught to use religion as a crutch and depend on a Caucasian face or depend on a religion. So that's where we're gonna try to run through a couple things at the same time. So we're knocking out two birds with one stone. That's where the 5% Nation comes from. So Noble Drew Ali came, right? Yes. Noble Drew Ali, one of his first students was the father, Master Fard Muhammad. Okay. Master Fard Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali dies. Master Fard Muhammad now goes and teaches Elijah Muhammad. When Noble Drew Ali died, Elijah Muhammad was his boy, so he wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? So when he died, Noble Drew Ali died, Master Fard Muhammad took the science and now he taught Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad started the Nation of Islam. Okay. His best students was Malcolm X and Clarence X. Malcolm went to the public eye, Clarence X went to the prison. So that's still Allah working. That's still the mystical divine powers of Allah working, because we wouldn't have the 5% Nation right now if the father ain't go to prison with the lessons. Right. So Allah was doing Allah's work, because you got to remember at that time you had brothers that couldn't read and write. So we was coming out of slavery, we was coming out of the Jim Crow and all that. So that time was very important. So Allah always works. It doesn't matter how, you feel me? So that's how that came about. So
Noble Drew Ali, and then you said the master taught Elijah. So before Elijah, there was no nation.
No.
Everybody just was being Muslim.
No, everybody was Muslim. I'm Christian. Christian and Negroes. So that means There ain't no knowledge of self. You feel what I'm saying? So Noble Ali basically set off a chain of events that led to where we are now with Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
So when we dealing with religion, though, let's break down the word religion. Religion.
Definitions, concepts, and all.
R-E-L-I-G,
Three.
La,
La.
O-N.
Ion.
Religion. Rely on.
Rely on it.
This is what you rely on, right? In culture,
So,
in ancient culture, there was no word to
say that you was a part of a group.
no, there was no word for religion.
It was just being spiritual.
That concept didn't exist. You understand what I'm saying? This is the English language. We're trapped even in the language that we speak in. You feel me? So you got brothers, Hebrew brothers, Israelites arguing with Moors arguing with Christians, Christians arguing with black Muslims, but they all speak in English.
Right.
So that's why they all arguing with each other. You feel me? The Moors are the ones that are closest to the fact and the truth because they deal with linguistics and they deal with etymology. It's more science. More science is not a religion. We're not a part of a religion. We are a part of a bloodline and a descendant of nations that practice a culture of Islam.
Right. But the Israelites, like my elders that I speak to and deal with, they would say it's not a religion as well. This is a lifestyle. We are a bloodline that is true from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So what do you say about that when it's not just a religion aspect, but yeah, they get grouped in with the part of being in a religion or having a part of that faith being dedicated, because they would say being Islam is a religion as well. Or
It's been turned into a religion.
Right.
Just the same way Christianity
and like we spoke about
Catholicism is Christianity and Catholicism is the commercialized Hebrewism.
Definitely.
It's
I
commercialized.
definitely can agree with that.
And
Definitely
when you're
agree.
dealing with Hebrew Israelites, that's not a nationality. Hebrew Israelite is not a bloodline. It's not a bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Hebrew is a language. It's not even a race. It's not even a race. So you need to talk to your big brothers, I mean, you know, the elders in the Israelite temple and bring these facts to them. That's not, Hebrew is a language. It's not a race. It's not a nationality. You understand? It's a faith. It's a culture with faith. That Abraham was a Moor, and that was his nationality. You understand? You have a political status and you have a religious status. Like back in ancient times before we was colonized, we spoke Hebrew here. We spoke Arabic here.
Yeah.
We all was Moors.
Both of those are selected languages. So now when we get into that and you saying we all was Moors, break that down in your definition of that, we all was Moors.
More, again, I just broke it down to you. Political status. What is your political status? What is your nationality? Black is not a nationality. Hebrew is not a nationality. Israelite is not a nationality. What is your nationality? Your nationality is connected to the land where your ancestors come from. And who were your ancestors?
Which would be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob.
All right. Moors.
See, the only distinction is where was they calling themselves Moors? They have them calling themselves Israelites.
How do you know that? You speak in English. You
True.
speak Hebrew?
True. Yes, I've been learning Hebrew.
Okay, so
I don't speak it fluently. Because we know there's different versions of Hebrew. You got the Yiddish now that's not a part of us, and you got the ancient version Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew, and then you have the newer version of Hebrew. So it's different.
That's what I was about to bring up. Abraham was born where?
I say he was born in, I can't say the land of Canaan, but around Egypt.
No. Abraham was born in Babylon, which is modern day Iraq.
Right.
So that's the Middle East.
Yeah.
So now, when you know and understand what Babylon was,
Geography.
right, and who was ruling at that time.
Before Nimrod.
Yeah, this is Abraham. It was way before him. Yeah. Phoenicians, he just brought them up. So you got the ziggurat pyramids, and that's the reason why Bush went over there. You got the epic of the Anunnaki, and you have all of these other stories of these are the descendants of Abraham. Those was Moors. They got fezzes on. When you look at the statues, most of the statues, everybody got fezzes on. When you see them with a headdress, that's a fez.
And explain what a fez is.
The fez is
And its significance.
the significance of the fez is to venerate and crown the crown chakra, yes indeed. But even more so, it's about the upliftment of the mother goddess. Before colonization and before misogynism, because if you look at once you study your own culture, you start to see that the divine feminine plays a more bigger role and aspect than our culture, our way of life, the way we think, and what we do. But after colonization by the Europeans, misogynism and male chauvinism has taken over because that's their culture.
Right.
That's why they show you the man dragging the woman out the cave. When they show you cavemen, that's actually their history because they came from out of the caves. So we're gonna speak facts, right?
It's a fact.
So when they tell the stories about the cavemen fighting over the women and then they drag the women out the cave with the club and all that, she has no say so. That whole thing is a part of European culture. And we have adopted that as Moorish American men. We have adopted the slave master's culture. That's why we treat our women the way we treat them. So we know and understand that when they came to Africa, they seen how we venerated the mother goddess. And in this headpiece right here, right? This right here explains the anatomy of the woman. This is the black hole, the place of creation, uterus, right? All right? This is the nipple. This is the umbilical cord. This is the astrology of the stars, the geography of the stars. So when you break down the zodiacs, there was a 13th zodiac in African culture.
Okay.
The 13th zodiac is Zodiacus, the African woman, the melanin woman. She was the 13th sign. So you had Cancer, Capricorn, Pisces. Why'd they take her out?
Never even heard of that one.
Why'd they take her out? So when we know and understand, when we dealing with the beginning of history, we deal with a lot of male chauvinism, even in our own cultures, as far as like American culture.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to see that the woman had a position that she had.
Even you saying that though, and shit, sometimes I even break it down in my head. What do you think about the pyramid of shit? Not to even bring up the religious groups or spiritual groups, but even how our book is read. God, man, woman, child. What you think about that?
God, man, woman, child?
Yeah.
0, 1, 2, 3. It's mathematics.
Exactly. So
God is 0, man, woman, child. 1, 2, 3.
right. So with that being said, is that even a misogynistic way of thinking of it? Because even though we should put our women to the highest pedestal,
I think, yes. Because just like, all right.
because I understand. Let's go back. Cut you off. I done broke that down to my female friends that way. You feel me? Like that's the way it was positioned from the Most High.
There's a reason why.
So with that being said, is that misogynistic type shit? Like, you feel me? Is that misogynistic?
No, it's mathematics.
Let's get into that.
It's mathematics because On the chessboard, the
Hold
king.
on, I don't want to cut you off. Give me 30 minutes. All right.
The king is the most powerful, is the most important piece of the board.